Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the U Talk Show, where I, the very sick Kyle Rollinson, and this lovely gentleman, Horst Burkhardt, pontificate on matters of importance. And today we are asking the question, why the hell have there been so many royal commissions into union corruption? Since Billy Hughes was last in
Ooh,
office, there's been like, what, six, seven? Something like
thereabouts,
that?
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think I have the answer to this, at least in part, and that is, well, the Liberal Party, which really should be called Corporate Interest Party number one, is just trying to attack their political opponents and the political opponents of the corporations they represent.
I am so glad that you came into that because I just quickly refreshed myself on the Royal Commission report into trade union corruption and governance.
The one under Abbott,
And
the one that ended in like, I
the
think it
one
was
that
like
ended under
nine.
Turnbull.
Ended under Turnbull. Wait. It was called under Abbott, right?
I believe so.
Yeah,
But I
and
would like to point out that Volume
it
2 starts with a poem by Rudyard Kipling.
volume two of the report
Yep,
starts with a poem.
by Rudyard Kipling.
I am awkwardly curious.
I will read the entire poem.
Uh-huh.
It is short. It is always a temptation to an armed and agile nation to call upon a neighbor and to say, "We invaded you last night, and we are quite prepared to fight unless you pay us cash to go away." And that is called asking for Dane gold, and the people who ask it explain that you've only to pay them the Dane gold, and then you'll get rid of the Dane. It is always a temptation to a rich and lazy nation to puff and look important and to say, "Though we know we should defeat you, we have not the time to meet you. We will therefore pay you cash to go away." And that is called paying the Dane gold, but we've proved it again and again, that if once you have paid him the Dane gold, you never get rid of the Dane.
Pretentious motherfucker.
Kipling was making the very sound argument that, as we discussed
Oh,
at the
oh,
end of the last
not the
episode,
poet.
that if you are not ready for war, you will be extorted by superior forces. And in the case of this, Commissioner Hayden was very, very obviously saying that if you give these unionized workers an inch, they'll take a bloody mile.
Okay. The poet, I have no problem with. Excellent
Kipling was
point.
also a wanker, though. I must say
Okay.
that.
I mean,
Kipling
look, he
was a
wrote it.
pretentious wanker.
All I know about him is he wrote a good poem because that poem's pretty good. However, the use of that poem in a report on union corruption is what that is what made me go pretentious motherfucker. Just,
Commissioner Hayden and Rudyard Kipling both were pretentious motherfuckers.
I mean, fair, but wow, just to okay, because to use a poem like that, I mean, it either there are two ways: either you're pretentious, but also you want to add a bit of flair to it, or you're pretentious and you have no real argument, so you are trying to evoke emotion
I'm
in lieu
reminded
of
of
that.
legal advice, right? If if the facts aren't on your side, pound the law. If the law isn't on your side, pound the facts. If neither are on your side, pound the bench. Like it is this rhetoric is an important tool. And here we can see it being blatantly abused, but it is
Yeah,
very impressive.
as a tool, yes. That being said, I mean, look, what I want to point out when it comes to this Royal Commission into Union corruption, and basically all of them, you know, which were all called by liberal prime ministers, by the way. So You can tell the source of it was just wonderful. Corporate interest party number one there. It fulfills on several objectives of corporate interest party number one's agenda. It is a distraction from horrible policies that they're enacting. It is, it smears the political opponents of themselves and and their proprietors, essentially, the corporate interests, and damages the reputation of the organizations working in your interest, and often against that corporate interest, and it does a lot more than that. It does those three things and a lot more. And so that, in my view, is almost the entire reason why we have why we have had so many royal God, I can't speak today. Pro tip: never get sick, otherwise you will absolutely screw up everything you're trying to say on a talk show.
Okay,
so that is the reason why we have so many royal commissions into union corruption.
So the
Am I wrong?
That I want to. No, you're really not. But I would like to also point out that in every distortion, in every lie, in every myth, there lies a kernel of truth. And it is not possible to have a royal commission into corruption if you cannot make the prima facie argument that there is corruption. Corruption permeates all levels of our society, from what I would call relatively harmless nepotism, like, giving your son a job at the family fish and chip shop instead of one of the randoms who's come in for a job from the local high school. That's pretty harmless. To less harmless nepotism, for instance, the fact that Justice Dyson Hayden, who was, you may recall, the commissioner into trade union governance and corruption, was on the board that admitted Tony Abbott his Rhodes Scholarship. That's a little bit less harmful as nepotism goes, a little bit less harmless, rather. These things happen at all levels of our society, and if you can create doubt in the average person's mind as to whether unions are a good thing for society, people who've grown up with no experience of unions but have heard the scary news in the papers, on TV, oh, these unions are just a bunch of corrupt thugs, they'll go forward and they'll propagate that in their lives. They won't think about it critically. It'll just become part of the things they know. Yes, Kyle?
I feel the need to point out here that scary news... Yeah, I can't remember anything else other than I feel the need to point out that we should mention that it is corporate media that pushes that crap. Corporate media machines that are acting in the corporate interests. Keep in mind, like, the reason why we have the like news, and journalism that is telling you unions are these corrupt, nefarious organizations, even though out of the last two royal commissions into union corruption, one of them produced like no prosecutions at all, and the other one produced, I think it was one prosecution with 9 referrals for potential prosecution. Like, it referred 9 people and there was 1 prosecution that wasn't later overturned. And in that case, it was the guy screwing over the union. It was the guy fucking the union.
That was what happened to the bloody ICAC when it was first started under Neville Hughes, was it? I think no, Neville Ran. He was just like, New South Wales ICAC, sure. Yeah, I am sure that these Labour bastards are up to some dodgy stuff. Oh,
yeah,
my ministers are doing so much worse.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's not a 1-to-1, but it's kind of like that, because it basically showed, oh no, the unions are getting screwed over. The only like one thing that you could say was technically wrong was that that was found in the last union royal union corruption royal commission. Oh God, keep her coherence, Kyle. Was that two people were passing information to the union that they technically shouldn't have. There was that. I can't quite remember all the details, but I do know that they technically shouldn't have done that. Other than that, the only thing that was found, the only person who was found to have actually done anything that was legally, technically, or morally wrong was the guy who was screwing over the union itself.
So the thing that I want to get back to here quickly, because you're right, this has been a hilarious House of Cards.
Yeah.
Is
Oh,
that
wait. Oh, just before you do that, I didn't. Because I lost coherence, I forgot what I was actually trying to
okay?
say. So real quickly, basically that's the case, and yet the media is reporting on this like unions of these scary, nefarious organizations that are trying to
undermine our way of
something.
life and punish
Yeah.
honest, hardworking, rich bastards.
Yes, those honest, hardworking, rich bastards that have never lifted a finger in their life. Anyway,
Hey, I disagree. They have lifted a finger. They have to press the button on the office intercom to get their assistants to bring them coffee.
Okay, fair enough, Horse. That is absolutely. They have lifted a finger. I withdraw.
But yeah, so, what I wanted to get to with regards
I didn't finish. I'm sorry. Sorry. I keep getting sidetracked. So essentially, the reason why they're saying that, the reason why where corporate media essentially, 7, 10, Sky News and all the Murdoch media, Sydney Morning Herald, 9 Fairfax, even the ABC, which essentially is a corporate media machine, and I'll explain that in my documentary, not here.
Stop spruiking your documentary and get on with.
I'm really not trying to spruik my documentary, but the reason why they're doing it is because they're all working for the corporate interest. 4 out of 5 of those being owned by the corporate interests.
I'm going to have to disagree with you here, and it was a point that I was getting to with regards to that. Scaremongering makes money. It's not just that painting the unions as unscrupulous, untrustworthy benefits the corporate interest, as you would say, but it's also that, quite frankly, news which makes people scared, they have to pick up the paper, they have to read more, they have to watch the TV news show that's selling ad time. They get glued to it because if you can prey on that fear, you've got their attention.
Yeah, it's kind of like outrage marketing. I know exactly what you're saying, and you are right. So, I guess I won't say that I'm wrong, but I will say that, you are right in that it wasn't the only reason.
There are multiple reasons for corporate media machines to be scaremongering.
Yeah. It kind of two birds, one stone thing. Which I every time I say it since a couple of weeks ago, or it might be a couple of months, I've realized is a very violent metaphor. I mean, I'm wondering why we use it. But that being said,
well, technically, when you kill 2 birds with 1 stone, you're actually using the first bird to kill the second bird.
What?
Well, think about it. Stones don't really penetrate. So you're using the first bird to kill the second bird, which is
what about if it's
worse.
A ricochet? What about if it's a ricochet?
Most birds have enough. No, I don't.
All right.
No.
All right. Let's
please no.
Yeah. Let's
get back on track a little here.
Yeah. So they. Why are there so many royal commissions into union corruption? Because it serves the corporate interest and the party that represents them. Why do we keep hearing about it nonstop? Because it serves the corporate interest and the media that represents them. And, I mean, that's it, really. I don't really know if there's anything more to say about it.
No, there is 2 more things that are interlinked here that I need to add.
Okay,
Thirdly, because there's corruption everywhere, And if you draw attention to the corruption of your opponents, people might not look so closely at the corruption of your allies.
Mm.
And the cure to that is ultimately for unions to continue existing under a sort of democratic system where the decision makers in large unions are accountable to rank and file members. There are some unions that are already very, very good at that. The Teachers Federation, for instance, the
Wait,
Nurses
very, very
Union,
good at what? I kind of lost track there.
being accountable to the rank and file.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Like you will often hear these described as militant unions. What this means is they're not afraid to go on strike and get their hands dirty. They're not afraid to fight for their members. Those are the unions that are the future here, where it's not backroom deals that determine enterprise bargaining agreements, but representing the interests of all workers publicly, visibly, unashamedly. It is in those situations where corruption starts.
And I want to point out here the last time that I think we had an actual militant union, like a union that was actually militant, was like the 1920s and 30s.
No, we've got the Wharfies.
Wait,
Wharfies and
Wharfies?
Dockies. Yeah.
When were they actually militant? When was the last time they were actually militant?
They were pretty insistent that you not cross their picket line in like 2016, 2017 or so.
I didn't hear about this. You got to okay. We're running out of time.
You never do hear about the union actions. That's the thing. It's not in the interests of the corporate media machines and those they represent.
You would think that they talk about that though.
It's not in their interest to report on the success of union actions.
Yeah, but the militancy, the actual militancy, you'd expect them to report on that because they could use it to make it look bad.
No bones got broken. It's fine.
Oh, well, that's what I'm referring to. Is when did that? When we union, like when unions, the last time unions were actually militant and hurting people, it was like the 20s and 30s, from what I can remember.
Yeah, these days they just hurt you by stabbing you in the back. Sorry, SDA. It's not me. It's you.
Yeah, but keep the very particular unions that have, shall we say, lost their. I mean, it's putting it nicely. Well, yes, that, yeah.
I think that's sort of where we're at about why there's so many alleged inquiries and commissions.
Yeah, and we're in time too. 20 seconds left.
Amazing.
So I'll
20 seconds to wish everyone a good night.
Take care, everyone. I was about to say we love you. I guess we do love you in some sort of way, shape, or form. Have a good
this weird parasocial
day, night, whatever.
thing. Night, y'all.